The Galactic Council votes to secretly cut humanity off. They believe Earth will beg, but Earth doesn't scream. Don't retaliate. It listens, watches, then responds with one quiet sentence and a terrifying silence. Above alien capitals, the sky begins to darken, and humanity appears where it was never expected. The humans will never know what we've done. 13 alien voices hummed in agreement across the gilded chamber of the Galactic Council, floating above Oloran Prime's stratosphere. The citadel was a marvel of ancient construction, pearl-white pillars of cosmic alloy, domed ceilings inlaid with neural crystal, and a floating dais shaped like a crescent moon. From here, the elites watched the galaxy unfold beneath them. Below, seas of blue fire roared in silence across Olorun's core vents. The planet looked holy, sacred. Above that holy world, the most sacred betrayal had just been sealed. High Chancellor Vrexil of the Murax Confederacy leaned back on his floating throne, clicking his mandibles together. His 6 ocular lenses blinked in sequence. They should never have made it off that mud ball, he said. Their curiosity is not intelligence. Their resilience is not civilization. Beside him, the Sicaran Hive Queen oozed approval, her voice dripping with venom and amusement. They were useful pets until they started calling themselves partners. A few murmurs of laughter echoed. The motion had passed. The verdict final. Earth was out, cut from trade networks, excluded from wormhole lanes. Their colonies would be reassigned, their tech patent nullified. No vote, no warning, no war. Let them rage, hissed Juthari Prime. They are emotional, not strategic. They will scream, Vrexil said with certainty. That's what primitives do when you close the door. But Earth didn't scream. Not a whisper. Not a ping on the diplomatic relays. Not even an angry protest from the Martian Assembly or the Titanian outpost. Human ships vanished from all trade lanes, returning silently to their home systems. Human embassies on Voltra 9, Zeveth, and even core worlds sealed themselves shut in perfect synchronization. At exactly 0400 Standard Galactic Time, a wave of electromagnetic silence spread from Sol System like a ripple. AI relays went cold. Trade stations paused. Civilian comms fizzled. Then, across every council-linked channel, on every planet orbit and transmission band, one message echoed. We expected this. No demand, no appeal, no volume, just a flat, bitter line, spoken in 100 dialects, human. Voices overlapping like an ancient funeral song across the void. On the council floor, the laughter died. Chancellor Vrexil clenched his claws. They think this performance frightens us. Ambassador Loreen of the Silashari, one of the few who had studied Earth deeply, remained seated. Her eyes, ink-black and unblinking, were fixed on the now static transmission feed. She had visited Earth once. She remembered its strange silences, its deep oceans, its night skies filled with old satellites and older secrets. We've made a mistake, she said. You're sympathizing with apes, spat Vathar of the shifting brood, limbs twitching. They're not apes anymore, Loreen whispered. They're listening. The Citadel's neural sensors chirped. Unscheduled gravity fluctuation. Perimeter detected. A low alert tone vibrated through the chamber. No threat identified. No ships recognized. Show me the sky, Vrexil snapped. The ceiling dome flickered. The image shifted to real-time orbital view. Stars, then shadows, not warships at first, not weapons, dots, glinting specks like obsidian sand, just beyond sensor range, then closer, dozens, hundreds, thousands, black silhouettes, angular hulls, no heat signatures, no drives, no design classification in the Council's ancient war archives. Vathar twitched again. What are those? No one answered. The Council's AI, Zerak-1, began to repeat a phrase it had never said in its 3,000-year service. Unidentified vessels, no origin, no language, no heraldry, no purpose. Ambassador Loreen rose slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. They're not unidentified. She tapped a console. The ancient Terran sigil flickered onto the screen, an iron-black eagle over a shattered sun. Beneath it, a single word, judgment. Vrexel's voice broke. Impossible! The Judgment Fleet was dismantled centuries ago. Their AI cores were buried. They never buried them, Loreen cut in. They buried the blueprints, not the ships. Above Oloran, the shadows began to move, not charging, not forming up, just surrounding, orbit after orbit, layer upon layer of stillness, a cold siege. They're posturing, Vrexel said, voice rising. Loreen didn't respond. Instead, she reached beneath her robe and pulled a small shard of obsidian etched with symbols of warning. A gift from a human general on her last visit to Earth. When you see black ships, kneel, he had told her. She hadn't understood. Until now, a low, unnatural hum filled the chamber. The air grew dense. Time seemed to slow. Then he appeared. There was no sound, no shimmer of teleportation. One moment he was not there. The next, he was human, perhaps. Cloaked in matte black robes, a single silver thread running from shoulder to wrist. His skin was scarred. His eyes burned blue, not glowing, not lit, but burning. Like something contained inside. No council alarms triggered, no defenses activated. The guards drew weapons, then froze. Mid-step, mid-breath. He walked calmly into the council circle. Each step sounding heavier than the last. No threat, no weapon, but power hung from him like gravity. You voted, he said. 12 voices tried to speak. Only one succeeded. What do you want? The human tilted his head. You chose betrayal. He turned his gaze to each delegate, holding their eyes longer than was comfortable. Then he looked up through the dome at the black sky filled with judgment. We never asked to be part of your council. We came in peace. You taught us differently. He raised one hand, not in anger, not in vengeance, in farewell. Now, you'll learn what we buried in silence. The lights dimmed, the ceiling view twisted, senses overwhelmed. Above Oloran, the sky turned black. The council panics as the black ships maintain their chilling orbit. No attack comes, only observation. Earth refuses to respond to hails. Inside the citadel, fear festers. One admiral suggests retaliation, but finds himself staring into the abyss instead. Meanwhile, a secret message is discovered buried inside Earth's last transmission. Panic didn't come all at once. It dripped. First from the edges of the council chamber, staffers whispering over non-responsive channels, aides unable to confirm. Trade lanes, escort fleets reporting sensor blindness. Then from the political core, Vathar trembling, the Sikaran hive's pheromones souring, even Vrexel's breathing growing uneven. The human had vanished as silently as he arrived. No breach, no recorded entry, no trace. But outside, the sky remained black. Not one shot fired, not a single demand, just ships, watching, waiting, silence as strategy. They're bluffing, muttered Admiral Kelzar, the only non-political figure in the room. He adjusted his armored chest plate and pulled up fleet schematics from his wrist node. 1,000 ghost ships don't mean anything if they won't act. Ambassador Loreen looked up sharply. That's what you still don't understand, she said. Action isn't their threat, it's patience, he scoffed. You think they'll just wait us to death? They're letting us realize we already lost. Kelzar turned to Vrexel. Permission to deploy fleet units from Echelon Rim. We can trap the Terran constructs and— Trap what? Loreen snapped. You don't even know what powers them. Dark matter, AI protocols, human mythology, he growled. Loreen's voice dropped. Mythology is power to them. An aide rushed in breathless, holding a holographic data drive. We We decrypted the Earth transmission. What transmission? The line? Vrexel asked. No, sir. A hidden packet buried inside. Ancient Terran encryption. Took our best AI 4 hours. Play it. The lights dimmed. A single screen appeared. In mid-air, it showed Earth, but not as the Council remembered. No orbital haze, no pollution, no traffic. Just a quiet, blue orb. Then, slowly, the camera turned downward, into the Mariana Trench. It kept going, past known depth limits, past where the Council's probes had ever dared to go. A facility appeared, massive, silent, and awake. Human tech, but older, scarred, built of something blacker than vacuum. A symbol rotated into view, a skull with a crown of broken stars. Then a voice, male, human, calm. They told us to bury our monsters, so we buried them deep. The feed ended. No threat, no demand, just implication. In the council chamber, Vrexel exhaled for the first time in minutes. He looked at Kelzar. If you engage, they might respond. They already have responded, said Lorene. We're still trying to understand the language. A pulse wave rattled the Citadel floor. Just once, a low hum. Not seismic, not artificial, gravitational. Across the galaxy, Council-linked sensor buoys picked up identical anomalies at the edge of their systems. Dark ships, idle, but perfectly synchronized. They were appearing near trade planets, research colonies, diplomatic hubs, not attacking, not blocking, just positioning. Kelzar's face hardened. Then let me speak their language. Without waiting. For Vrexel's approval, he tapped a sequence into his node. Admiral Kelzar to Echelon High Guard. Deploy Vanguard arcs to Sol system. Authorize weapons hot. The command flew across encrypted channels until it didn't. Halfway through the relay, it vanished. No bounce back, no error, gone. Retry, Vrexel barked. Kelzar did. Same result. A tech drone near the chamber floor blinked red. Communication to Sol system no longer exists. What do you mean? Vrexel snapped. I mean it's not jammed, the AI chimed in. Flatly. It's not there. Space is there, physics is there, but the channel isn't. Ambassador Lorene closed her eyes. They deleted the frequency, she whispered. Kelzar turned pale. That's not possible. Neither is this, she said, pointing at the black sky. Above them, the Judgment Fleet did not blink. Did not move. Just floated like a grave procession. A silent jury. Then, from the darkest ship, just one transmission escaped. Visual only. No sound. A video. Admiral Kelzar's face. Live in his chamber. Alone, recorded now, while he stood in the council. He stared at it. At himself. In the feed, his image stood calmly in his own quarters, removing his rank insignia, taking off his armor, staring into the void outside the viewport, and whispering something no one could hear. Then, the version of him in the video put a plasma pistol to his head and pulled the trigger. The lights came back. Everyone stared at Kelzar. The real one. He staggered backward, pale as frost. How? Ambassador Lorene's voice was cold. They don't need to kill you. They just show you what your choices look like. Kelzar sat. He didn't speak again. Fear spreads across the galaxy. Humanity says nothing, but every alien species begins reporting lost vessels, corrupted data, and whispers of something old stirring in Terran space. Ambassador Lorene finds an ancient myth about Earth's shadow protocol. Meanwhile, a mysterious blackout wipes out a council stronghold in one blink. News travels fast in the galactic core, but fear travels faster. Within 48 standard hours of the Judgment Fleet's appearance, every major trade route near human sectors had gone dark, not jammed, not destroyed. Absent convoys simply never arrived. Patrols disappeared mid-transmission. Entire communication threads unraveled like loose quantum code. Then came the dreams, pilots, officers, civilians, even AI entities. All began reporting the same recurring vision: a sky gone black, a symbol, a crown made of broken stars, and behind it a voice. They watched us bleed. Now we watch them remember. The Galactic Council tried to deny it, tried to issue calming reports, publish miscommunication bulletins, declare the anomaly a natural spike in subspace turbulence. But no one believed it, because the disappearances continued. Outposts near Procyon Rift vanished. Scientific colonies near Nova, Centrus, evacuated in blind panic. And on day 3, the archive of Carcel fell. The Carcel Citadel was the single most secure data vault in the galaxy, a floating fortress above a neutron star, guarded by 32 AI-controlled destroyers, run entirely by machine logic. At 0500 Galactic Standard, the vault reported an internal fluctuation. At 0501, its orbit collapsed. No explosion, no breach, no enemy contact, just non-existence. Its light was gone from the sky. The data, the ships, the star, all are gone. And in its place, a single encrypted data packet appeared across all Council terminals. A simple message: "You archived your lies. We archived your sins." In the shadowed chamber beneath the Council Citadel, Ambassador Lorene moved quickly through the restricted archives. She wasn't alone. Her assistant, Kieran, followed close behind. He was young, loyal, and had just pulled something unthinkable. From the ancient Galactic Codex. "Ma'am, this entry. You need to see this." He activated the hollow scroll. It showed Earth, not a map, an old map, before satellites, before the stars. It pulsed with red runes in a language older than Galactic Common. One phrase, auto-translated: Protocol Umbra Natus. "Shadowborn," Lorene whispered. "What is it?" Kieran hesitated. "It was submitted by a member species 900 years ago, one that no longer exists. The record is flagged myth, but look at the author." Lorene leaned in. "Xerxes of Andari Prime." Her throat tightened. Andari Prime had vanished without trace 2 centuries ago. No war, no known contact. Just gone. Their sun collapsed without going nova, impossible by all physics. Lorene read on. "The humans speak of judgment not as vengeance, but as memory. They remember all wounds, all betrayals. They do not erase you. They let you forget yourself until you're nothing but myth. Then one day, they come back. If Earth ever goes silent, pray they've forgotten you." She turned to Kieran. "Do we have anything from the humans after Andari vanished?" He nodded, hesitant. "A diplomatic packet was sent to the Council archives a week later, never decrypted." "Try it again." The screen flickered. A single sentence appeared. "We did not act in anger. We acted in remembrance." Meanwhile, aboard the Taz Revenant, a deep-orbit Terran monitoring ship hidden in the black folds between galaxies, Commander Sorin watched the Council flail in real time. He wore no insignia, Terran black, no name badge, just matte armor stitched with neural thread, feeding the ship's ancient AI, Astra. "They've activated Tier 9 retaliation prep," Astra reported, her voice soft, almost sympathetic. "Expected," Sorin muttered. "They still believe you want conquest." "I don't want anything," he replied. "We gave them peace. They bartered it away." A pause. Then Astra spoke again, slower. "Shall I initiate Ghost Layer 3? Sorin nodded. "Open the veil." All across the galaxy, black ships. Previously, Oidling blinked out. Council scanners erupted. Confusion reigned. Lorene, watching from the chamber, stood suddenly. "Where did they go?" "They're not gone," she whispered. "They're inside." And then came the event. The planet Drexala, a Council stronghold and tactical think tank world, known for its planetary-scale defense grid and moon-sized observation hubs, went dark. Not destroyed. No alarms, just silence. When a drone was dispatched to investigate, it sent back only a single image before being vaporized. An entire city, frozen mid-motion, not dead, paused, birds in mid-air, flames not flickering, water held in impossible arcs, as if time had obeyed someone else, and standing in the city square, a human, cloaked in black, holding a broken crown. The council was cracking. Vrexel roared in fury across the chamber. Summon every fleet. If Earth wants to fight, they'll drown in our fire. Lorene did not argue. She simply looked upward and whispered, "You don't drown the sky." As the council scrambles for retaliation, their alliances begin to crumble. Member species question the betrayal of Earth. Paranoia spreads. Systems fracture. Meanwhile, whispers of ancient human artifacts resurface across the galaxy. One by one, the stars themselves begin to shift, as if reacting to an unseen command. The galaxy was quiet, not the peace of order, but the silence before collapse. Each council world, once a beacon of harmony, was now a prison of suspicion. Trade fleets refused to launch. Science councils dissolved. Civilian colonies reported sightings of shadows in orbit. Black silhouettes that vanished the moment sensors locked on. No weapons fired, no ultimatums delivered. But every species knew humanity was awake, and it was watching. High Chancellor. Vrexel paced the obsidian floor of the Citadel's central command, his claws tapping like war drums. "We need action," he growled. "Show of force, tactical leverage, deterrence." Lorene stood motionless near the viewing window, staring into the infinite night. Her voice was distant, hollow. "You don't stop a myth with threats." Vrexel turned sharply. "They're not gods." Lorene met his eyes. "No, they're worse." Elsewhere in the dense nebulae of the Calyx Drift, a fleet of mercenary ships, unaffiliated but heavily armed, received a high-paying contract to raid an abandoned Terran listening post near the fringe. The post hadn't sent a signal. In over a decade, easy credits, they thought. The fleet vanished 30 seconds after exiting FTL. No distress calls, no debris. Just one thing remained. A repeating signal on all nearby channels, a child's voice, laughing. Back in the council war room, Vathar, now visibly deteriorating, hissed. In agitation, his fractal limbs pulsed erratically, his skin fracturing with every breath. "They're using fear as a weapon." "They're not using it," Lorene said quietly. "They're letting us use it against ourselves." A new message appeared across all council frequencies, text only. No source. "Some stars were always human, you just never looked close enough." Immediately after, astronomical observatories across 43 star systems began reporting unnatural stellar drift, tiny shifts, at first ignored, until navigational systems failed. Warp lanes bent subtly off course, asteroid mining outposts lost sync with planetary time. Then came the discovery. In a dead system once visited by human explorers, a council science vessel stumbled upon something impossible. A star. Artificial. Not fusion-based. A hollow construct of unknown alloys, emitting radiation signatures identical to Sol, but older. Within its core, a sleeping human warship. 2 kilometers long, unlit, inactive, but pulsing. One crew member, a Keithian xenobiologist, leaned too close. The warship opened its eyes, no weapon fired, no sound emitted, but the scientist collapsed, screaming of the void inside his name. He died of neurological collapse. 7 seconds later, autopsy revealed his brain had aged 900 years. Panic spread faster than warp travel. The Keithian theocracy, long-time council allies, withdrew from the alliance, citing irreconcilable breaches of universal law. The Zari Accord sent diplomats to Earth. They never returned. The Ulthari Hive burned their own archives that referenced humanity. The council began to unravel. One betrayal had birthed 1,000 fears. And above every council world, more black ships appeared, not attacking, just orbiting, a reminder, a presence. Meanwhile, deep within Earth's moon, long dismissed as inert rock, a system awoke. Not with engines, not with AI, with memory, the archive of Earth's betrayals, recorded not in logs, but in emotionally stabilized neural imprint fields, began to pulse across the dark side of the moon. It transmitted nothing, but anyone with a soul near it. Felt guilt, shame, fear. Ambassador Loreen, now openly defying council protocols, accessed an ancient secure line once used for Earth communications. "Terran Command," she whispered. "I never agreed to this betrayal. I stood with you." A pause, no response then. "We know who remembered us," she shivered, then said the words no alien had ever dared in council history. "I request asylum. On Earth." That same hour, on a distant agricultural world, a child looked up at the sky and pointed. "Mommy," the stars moved. Her mother, busy tending crops, laughed. "No, sweetheart, stars don't move." But when she looked up, she froze. In the sky, 3 stars were blinking. Morse code. The mother dropped her tools because she recognized it. It was Earth's old distress code. "We're coming." The galaxy believed Earth was silent, broken, and slow to evolve. But silence was not weakness, it was strategy. As council systems collapse into fear and confusion, a Terran deep code signal is finally decoded. What it reveals is more than a threat. It's a truth the galaxy refused to face. Earth was never quiet. It was listening. There was once a saying on Earth, long before the stars, before the fleets, before the betrayals. A quiet room is only quiet when you're not the one being studied. The Council never asked what Earth was doing after its betrayal. They assumed it sulked. They assumed it stagnated. But Earth didn't stagnate. It transformed. Hidden beneath Mars' southern ice shelf, a series of ancient Terran vaults, once civilian, bunkers, began to hum. They'd been forgotten even by Earth itself. Automated, self-sustaining. They required no oxygen, no maintenance, just betrayal as a trigger. Inside each vault, a crystalline lattice of Terran memory collected over centuries. Neural imprints of every declaration of war, every civilian loss, every broken treaty, every council vote. It pulsed now, not with anger, with focus. Each pulse reactivated dormant codes in long, quiet satellites scattered across Sol. Each satellite spun once and vanished, not cloaked, not destroyed, moved, instantaneously, across the stars. At the same time, on the planet Krylos, an old professor of galactic linguistics stared at his datapad in horror. He was decoding an old Terran signal thought to be gibberish. It wasn't gibberish. It was music, Earth's music, Beethoven. Sati, blind, Willie Johnson. Each file was paired with a coordinate. He followed one. It led him to a dying moon on the galaxy's edge. A Terran research base was there, forgotten, dust-covered. Inside, he found a screen still active. Flickering, it showed the council chamber. Live, someone had been watching them for decades. Someone human. Back at the council citadel, Vrexel stood in front of a growing rebellion. Several species had withdrawn. Others now questioned his leadership. He pounded the dais with a claw. "This is psychological warfare. They want us to tear ourselves apart. Then it's working," Vathar rasped. His limbs hung limp, his mind fracturing. Loreen was the only one who remained composed. "They never wanted war," she said. "You brought it to them. What you're seeing now is their restraint." Aid drones rushed in. "The Nix cluster just detonated itself," one said. "Impossible," Vrexel spat. "No impact, no fleet, just shut down, like it chose to go dark." Another aid followed. The Argenti archive, gone. Every data bit, wiped. No trace. Only one phrase left behind. "Say it," Vrexel hissed. The aide looked up, terrified. "Do not archive lies." Across dozens of council systems, ghost signals began to manifest. No consistent location, no signature, but each said something different. They forgot we build memory into metal. We buried entire fleets inside suns. You thought peace was our only protocol. We trained in silence, we perfected in exile. No species could respond, because every time a reply was sent, their comm systems went offline for exactly 7 minutes. When they returned, an Earth coordinate had been downloaded onto their mainframe. Not a threat, a request. Humanity wasn't invading, it was inviting them to witness, to remember. On the far side of Jupiter's orbit, beneath Europa's cracked skin, a signal activated, dormant for 300 years. It sent one ping, a gravitational wave tuned to frequencies no council race had ever accessed. On dozens of worlds, sleeping Terran machines hidden in plain sight woke up. A vending machine on a council moon split open, revealing a micro-reactor. A monument on a trade planet fractured, and inside, a sphere of pure dark matter logic lit up. Humanity hadn't been expanding colonies. They'd been planting seeds, and now the harvest was ready. Admiral Krylos, once defiant, now barely spoke. He sat in isolation, staring at the last video of himself before the fleet disobeyed his orders. The one where he committed suicide. He hadn't, but the future that video showed him had killed something inside. "I saw my legacy," he said softly to no one, "and it was a grave." Back on Earth, deep within the Terran intelligence crypt, Commander Sorin stood before a wall of names. Every planet that betrayed Earth, every council member who voted, every civilian who had begged for help and was denied. Each name was carved into titanium, each one encoded with memory. Sorin touched a single panel. A name lit up, Vrexel, and across Olorun Prime, every screen began displaying Vrexel's image, his face, his voice, his lies, his decisions, without sound, just his actions, replayed. Every time he blinked, another name appeared beside his. Not soldiers, not generals, children from Earth's colonies dead forgotten, now remembered. The galaxy had accused Earth of emotionalism, of vengeance. But this was not vengeance, this was witnessing. Humanity had become the archivist of suffering, every lie, every vote, every life remembered, recorded, and now returned. As the stars darken and old alliances dissolve, Earth finally responds, but not through words. The Judgment Protocol, once thought a myth, activates across hundreds of systems. The Council learns this isn't about invasion. It's about remembrance, and the truth no one wanted to face. Humanity never forgot. They just waited for us to forget. There was no explosion, no grand broadcast, no battle declaration, just a countdown. 3 simple numbers began to appear across every known galactic display: military HUDs, market kiosks, diplomatic tablets, neural overlays. It's no explanation, no signal origin, just the number, followed by static. At first, the Council assumed a psychological tactic. "Disruptive graffiti," said Vrexel. "Outdated fear propaganda," insisted Vathar. But the number changed. This time, not just on screens, in the stars. 3 systems in the outer rim reported stellar drift resembling the shape of a 2 when observed from specific angles, not visible to the naked eye, only through orbital lensing. Too perfect, too deliberate. The panic began anew. In the deep vaults of Sikaran memory chambers, a phrase surfaced, one long hidden, one sealed after the last time humanity withdrew. The Judgment Protocol is not a fleet. It is a timeline. Loreen stood over the message, trembling. She turned to Kiran. They were never preparing to strike. Then what were they preparing for? She looked up at the stars, to remember loud enough to make the galaxy feel it. Back on Earth, the skies remained untouched. No ships launched, no armies moved, just silence. Beneath the surface, however, entire continents hummed, machines embedded into tectonic plates activated. They weren't war engines, they were signal towers, not for communication. But Resonance Earth began to broadcast a frequency that didn't travel through space. It bled through time. Aboard the Terran vessel TES Lament, Commander Sorin received the final unlock sequence from Earth's lunar crypt. He did not smile, he did not speak. He merely pressed one key, and every human ship across the galaxy shifted position by a fraction of a degree. Thousands of black ships pointed downward, toward every council capital, still not attacking, still no weapons hot, but every council race felt it, as if the heavens themselves had begun leaning forward. The final number appeared, not on screens, not in the stars, but in dreams, across thousands of worlds. People awoke in cold sweat. They had dreamed the same dream, a child human standing beneath a burning sky, holding a sign that simply said. Then the image flickered into something else, a mirror, and each dreamer saw themselves, alone, afraid, witnessed. The council had enough. They activated every known defense protocol across core systems, planetary shields, null fields. Temporal dampeners, fleet mobilizations, it didn't matter. Nothing changed, because there was no enemy ship crossing their skies, no invasion force landing, just silence. Then the message arrived, from Earth to everyone. No encryption, no title, just a timestamp. This is not revenge. This is a reminder. It wasn't spoken by a human. It was sung, a woman's voice, old, crackled, but beautiful, singing an ancient Earth hymn, Dies Irae, the Day of Wrath, a death song from Earth's forgotten centuries. Paired with it, a map, the coordinates of every atrocity committed by the Council against Earth, every massacre, every silenced outpost, every betrayed treaty, each one marked by a single glowing star. Then, a final message. Each star is a name, and we are only getting started. The Council collapsed. 6 species left the Alliance within hours. Rexel screamed in rage, his claws tearing through the command table. We'll erase their planet, burn them out of existence. Loreen didn't even turn to him. You can't. Erase what you already made eternal. Above Olorun Prime, the stars dimmed again. The black ships moved, not forward, around, forming rings, symbols, a message only visible from orbit. It read, "We are not your fear. We are your memory." Back on Earth, beneath the mountains of old Alaska, the last part of the Judgment Protocol unlocked. A chamber opened. Inside, a child stood, eyes closed. Floating, genetically human, but evolved beyond all known thresholds. Linked neurally to the galaxy's emotional field, created not for war, but for reminding. She whispered one word, and across the galaxy, it echoed. Remember. After the countdown ends, nothing explodes, no fleets invade. Instead, the Council begins to hallucinate past crimes. Individuals on every world start suffering emotional overloads, forced to relive Earth's betrayals as if they were their own. Humanity's memory weapon has activated, not to destroy the galaxy, but to make it remember every sin it tried to forget. No missiles fell, no plasma fired, and yet entire systems screamed. The Judgment Protocol wasn't war. It was remembrance, and now it had begun. On Elithar Prime, a senator of the High Accord collapsed during a live broadcast. Convulsing, she awoke 30 seconds later, sobbing. "I was there," she cried, clutching her head. "I saw the Terran colony fall. I felt their air run out. I heard the child scream." She'd never visited Earth. She wasn't even alive during the colony's destruction, but she remembered it perfectly. All across Council space, hallucinations swept through the population. Not chaotic. Curated. Tailored. Leaders remembered the votes they cast. Soldiers remembered the innocents they ignored. Merchants saw the starving colonists whose trade routes they shut down. Even AI constructs, previously immune, began to glitch, not due to viruses, due to empathy overload, because Earth had found a way to make memory universal and suffering contagious. In the core system of Arian 6, the government collapsed overnight, not from bombs, from guilt. Every screen across the capital replayed the same moment, a council vote, recorded decades ago, where Earth begged for aid during the Titan plague. The plea was denied. Now that scene looped, and in every loop the voice of the Terran diplomat grew louder, until the only sound across the planet was a single cracked sentence. "Please, we have children down here." Lorene stood inside the council war room, watching the galaxy fall into emotional chaos. "They weaponized their own grief," she whispered. Kieran stared at her pale. "How is that even possible?" She didn't answer. Instead, she opened a personal log, one only Earth could access. It contained her memories from when she first visited Earth, moments of peace, moments of trust. Now, those memories glowed. Earth was using them to filter the protocol, to shield her. "They spared me," she said softly, "because I remembered with them." Meanwhile, High Chancellor Vrexel had sealed himself inside his personal fortress. He refused contact, refused to eat, refused to sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the child, the one from Mars Colony 7, begging, bleeding, burning. She stared at him now, on the walls, in his mind, in his soul. "You voted," she whispered. "You watched us die. You wrote it off as necessity." Vrexel screamed, tearing at his skin, tearing out optics. Still, she stayed. Still, she remembered. Across the galaxy, monuments fell, statues of council victory, toppled by their own citizens, because now they knew, because Earth had shown them, because Earth had made them feel what they ignored. On a research moon orbiting Tarask, an alien historian uncovered something horrifying, a black cube, buried under the Museum of Galactic Diplomacy. It pulsed now, and when he touched it, he was shown the entire history of Earth's betrayals, not just facts, not just logs, the feelings, the fear, the starvation, the hope, the final silence, and the last whisper before the darkness fell. "We gave you peace, you taught us silence." The historian fell to his knees and laughed, then cried, then burned his own notes, because nothing he ever wrote mattered anymore, not next to what Earth had archived. On Earth, the girl in the chamber, the psychic core of the Judgment Protocol, opened her eyes. She was 12, but she was also ageless. She held the weight of 10,000 betrayals, and she was not alone. Behind her, thousands of children stood in silence, each from a forgotten outpost, a lost colony, an erased tragedy. Their minds were projections, echoes stored in Earth's memory core. Now, they stood witness. In orbit, the black ships shifted, not closer, not into formation, into symmetry, perfect patterns above each capital world, like halos made of judgment. The message was now clear. Humanity wasn't coming to destroy. They were here, to remember until no one could forget. Every lie, every silence, every vote, every indifference etched into the sky. Back in the Terran Deep Command, Commander Soren spoke to the last Council envoy who dared send a message. "We never declared war," the envoy said, trembling. Soren answered calmly, "You did. You just didn't know how we respond." "What do you want?" Soren's face softened, but not with pity, with sorrow. Not revenge, not apology, just memory. Why? Because memory creates change. In the sky over 43 Council planets, new words began to form from ship formations. "Never again" starts with remembering. "Our silence was your weapon, no more." Pain fades, memory warns. Then the final phrase appeared above every world, in every dialect. In one voice, a child's voice, "We're not here to hurt you. We're here to stop you from ever becoming us." The memory storm intensifies. Entire systems go mad trying to suppress Earth's truth. Others begin embracing it. A split forms, not between species, but between those who can remember and those who cannot bear to. Meanwhile, humanity makes a shocking offer. They will deactivate the protocol if the Council does one impossible thing: remember in public. At first, the Council tried to deny the hallucinations, blamed drugs, blamed Terrantech, blamed sorcery. Then they tried to suppress the signals, shut down comm relays, jammed orbital channels, even burned archives. But it was no use. Because the protocol wasn't coming through technology, it was coming through them. On the waterworld of Inzerai, the planetary governor stood atop the dome palace, screaming at the skies. "They're not real. They're not real." Below her, the entire city moved in synchronized silence, heads turned upward, watching the black ships that hovered overhead like sentinels of shame. She tried to shoot one. The shot dissolved mid-air. Not blocked, ignored. The protocol was not defense. It was perception. On Delta Zaan, half the planetary population entered a dreamless sleep, not coma, not unconsciousness, a state of absolute stillness. Psychologists called it echolock. They had no medical explanation, but every affected being whispered the same word as they slipped into it. We heard them. Meanwhile, something unexpected began to happen. Small groups across alien societies began rejecting the Council narrative. Activists, scholars, survivors, they began sharing Earth's archives, in schools, in temples, on the streets, not to spread fear, but to say, "We remember too." And something miraculous happened. They were spared. No hallucinations, no madness, no visitations, because they remembered willingly. They joined the grief and were embraced by it. The protocol didn't punish, it witnessed, and those who witnessed with it were spared the weight of judgment. In contrast, Vrexel had not slept in 3 days. He'd sealed the citadel, shut down the council floor, fired aides, even threatened Lorene. "You helped them," he growled. "I didn't," she said, voice calm. "They helped themselves. They'll destroy us." "No," she replied. "You're doing that all on your own." He hurled a blade at her. It stopped mid-air, froze, then gently fell. Lorene smiled faintly. "They're watching you, Chancellor." On Earth, the moon pulsed with emotion, not energy. Not force, emotion. The girl in the Judgment Corps opened her arms, and her voice was broadcast, not through sound, but through feeling. It rippled across galaxies, and in every mind, her words whispered, "You taught us that silence is survival. So we survived by recording your every word. Now you call our memory a weapon, but it was always a mirror." Then humanity sent a message, the first direct message since the betrayal, a simple transmission. One file, one sentence, one offer. "We will deactivate the protocol if you remember us in public. No terms, no threats, just that." The Council was stunned. "Public," Vathar wheezed. "They want a broadcast?" Lorene translated. "They want a confession." "A surrender," Vrexel snarled. "No, a reckoning." Debate raged for hours. Some wanted to agree, anything to make it stop. Others threatened mass suicide before yielding to Earth's terms. But in the end, it wasn't Vrexel who answered. It was a child, a Sile-Shari girl, aged 9, who stood in front of a planetary monument and simply said into a recording device, "I'm sorry we hurt Earth. I didn't know, but I know now." Her video went viral, faster than light, and for the first time in weeks, the ships above her planet disappeared. Planet after planet followed. Children, teachers, artists, survivors, all posting their confessions, their apologies, their remembrances. Not perfect, not politically crafted, just honest. And Earth responded, not with power, not with demands, with peace. The hallucinations ceased, the dreams faded, and the black ships above those worlds turned, and slowly vanished, folding into the dark like shadows released from purpose. But not all worlds confessed. Some doubled down, Vrexel among them. "I will never kneel to a ghost," he spat. And on the day he made that declaration, Olorun Prime went silent. No attack, no explosion, just gone. As if memory itself refused to let that planet remain. All that was left was one orbiting ship, unmanned, broadcasting a single word on loop, erased. The galaxy shuddered, the meaning was clear. Not vengeance, not wrath, but consequence. Forget Earth, and be forgotten. The galaxy reels as memory overtakes technology. Earth's emotional weapon doesn't kill, it exposes. Some races begin to remember willingly, embracing the truth and halting the hallucinations. Others spiral deeper, trying to erase the unerasable. When Earth finally speaks, it offers peace, but only if the Council confesses publicly. For those who refuse, the silence becomes permanent. At first, the Council tried to treat it as a virus, an infection, something digital, logical, isolate it, quarantine it, analyze it. But how do you quarantine shame? How do you firewall guilt? You don't. You drown in it. On the golden towers of Azerai, a planetary governor stood atop the wind dome, screaming at shadows. "They're not real! They're not real! I never saw it happen!" Below her, the city stopped, not because of fear, but because they'd started watching. Every screen, window, mirror reflected the same image, a boy. Terran, bloody, dusty, kneeling over his mother's body in the rubble of a council airstrike. "Why did you leave us?" he whispered, not angry, just tired. The governor fired her pulse pistol at the image. The bolt blinked out of existence mid-air, and the boy remained. Across hundreds of planets, similar stories unfolded. People forgot their rituals, stopped answering orders. Some didn't eat, some didn't sleep. They simply remembered. The hallucinations were precise, not random images. They were timed, targeted, not custom-die. Mercenary who raided a Terran trade convoy saw every face he ever killed, smiling at him. A council diplomat who once ignored Earth's refugee petitions dreamt she was inside a Terran airlock, gasping for air no one ever gave. An engineer who helped block Sol's wormhole access suddenly couldn't see stars anymore. Literally. His vision filtered out starlight permanently. Scientists tried to explain it. "It's psychogenic," they said. "It's AI-induced suggestion." But how do you explain 3 different species from 3 different planets dreaming the same dream? A little girl, a frozen field, a black sun overhead, and one word written in the snow: listen. But there were those who did listen, and something strange happened to them. They didn't scream, they didn't hallucinate, they wept, and then they healed. On Solaris 9, an old war priest, once a vocal Earth-hater, walked to the town square. He fell to his knees and whispered, "I remember the Terran I killed." He never begged. He just asked me not to lie afterward. The priest cried for 5 hours. When he awoke, the hallucinations stopped. The stars above his planet were clear, and the ships orbiting overhead, gone. Humanity wasn't punishing them. They were testing them, and for the first time the galaxy realized this wasn't about revenge. It was a question. Can you carry what you did to us without breaking? Inside the council chamber, chaos reigned. Vrexel had lost all composure. He hadn't slept in days. He paced in circles, ranting. "We must strike. Now. We have world breakers, plasma fleets, time-splicing warheads." Lorene didn't move. She simply stared out the window, where the sky above Olorun Prime had dimmed further, not from nightfall, but from presence. Thousands of ships, not close, not threatening, just hovering, like sentinels of memory. Strike. At what? She said quietly. An idea, a whisper, a mirror. You're on their side. I'm on the side of truth. Back on Earth, the judgment core hummed. The girl inside, the neural hub of humanity's emotional broadcast, opened her eyes. She saw the galaxy crying. She saw it fracture. She saw species trying to forget, and others trying desperately to remember correctly. She sighed and whispered, "They still don't know how to heal." Then came the message. The first spoken Terran communication since the betrayal. It played everywhere, simultaneously, in every tongue, on every world. A simple voice, human, female, calm. We are not gods, we are not monsters, we are a memory. If you remember us in truth, we leave. If you erase us again, we stay, until forgetting becomes impossible. Attached to the message was an offer: deactivate the protocol, turn off the mirror, let the galaxy breathe again. But there was a condition. One condition. You must remember us in public, not in shadows, not in whispers, out loud. One honest admission. One public moment of memory from each world. The council erupted. Humiliation, spat Varthar. They want to shame us, screamed another. But Loreen read the message again and understood. They want accountability, she said. They want to stop being our secret. Debate burned through the night. Some worlds agreed immediately. Of course, they deserve that. Others hesitated. We'll lose face. What if we admit to things even our people didn't know? We'll collapse. But one voice made the difference. Not a politician, not a warrior. A child, a Salshari girl, aged 9, stood in front of a collapsed city monument and uploaded a 30-second holo. I didn't know we hurt Earth, but I saw the dreams. I think they're real, and I'm sorry. If I ever meet a Terran, I'll hug them. Her message spread like wildfire. On 1,000 worlds, her name became a banner. Lyra chose to remember, and something miraculous happened. Above her planet, the ships vanished. The pattern was undeniable. Where truth was spoken, ships disappeared. Where silence remained, the sky turned darker. Council leaders were stunned. This wasn't war. This was reciprocity. Remember honestly. And Earth leaves you alone. Erase the past, and Earth becomes your reflection. But not everyone complied. Some doubled down. Some burned statues of Terran children, calling them manipulative tech. On Olorun Prime, Vrexel staged a broadcast. He stood beneath the council sigil, fire behind him, and screamed, "We will not kneel to ghosts." The transmission cut off halfway, because at that exact moment, Olorun Prime vanished, not bombed, not attacked, just erased. Its memory filtered out of all galactic databases, its existence severed from star maps, its orbit now occupied by a lone black satellite, broadcasting one line of text: "You voted to forget us. We remembered to forget you." Panic swept the remaining council planets. This wasn't annihilation, this was editing. Earth didn't need to fire a shot. They'd simply overwritten reality itself. The new fear wasn't death, it was being unremembered. The galaxy teeters between transformation and collapse. Those who accept Earth's truth begin rebuilding trust. Others descend into paranoia and self-destruction. Humanity's silent presence forces the Council to face its failures publicly. New alliances emerge amid the ruins of old power, but the path forward is perilous, and the memory of betrayal remains a living shadow over every star. The silence after Olorun Prime's disappearance was deafening. No one dared speak its name. No one dared search its coordinates. It was a ghost in the archives, a missing chapter in every history book. And yet its erasure marked the moment the Council's fragile unity shattered. High Chancellor Vrexel was gone, not dead, not missing, just erased. The last transmission had been his scream, a defiant roar drowned by a creeping darkness. The Council scrambled, but it was no longer a war they fought, it was a reckoning. On dozens of worlds, leaders fell, not by weapons, but by despair, as memories flooded their minds. Some could no longer bear the truth. They resigned. They vanished. Others, terrified, turned inward, building walls, censoring archives, destroying evidence, trying to forget before the protocol could force them to remember. Yet, amid the chaos, new voices rose. From the ashes of old distrust, a coalition began to form. Scholars, survivors, diplomats, voices calling for honesty, for change. Ambassador Loreen became a beacon, her confession broadcast across hundreds of systems. She spoke openly of her failures, of the Council's betrayal, of humanity's pain, and the protocol's mercy. "We cannot undo what was done," she said, "but we can choose to carry its weight." Her words sparked a movement. Worlds that once denied Earth's pain now spoke openly. Children in schoolyards learned of Terran history. Temples held vigils for lost colonies, and with every act of remembrance, the hallucinations lessened. The nightmares faded. The ships above those worlds retreated, folding silently into the dark. Meanwhile, Earth remained silent, its black ships a constant watch, but never an attack, a reminder, a warning. Deep within the Terran intelligence crypt, Commander Sorin reviewed incoming data, every confession, every apology, every act of remembrance. The protocol was designed not to punish, but to heal. If the galaxy embraced truth, the weight would lift. If it refused, Earth's memory would become eternal. But not all were willing. The remnants of the Council's hardliners gathered in secret, plotting to sever the protocol's reach, to silence Earth forever, to reclaim power through oblivion. In the shadows, a new faction arose, calling themselves the Erased, dedicated to forgetting, to wiping clean the record, to extinguishing memory itself. The Erased launched covert attacks on remembrance centers, burned archives, hacked transmissions, murdered activists. Their message was clear: forget Earth, forget the past. Only then can the future be yours. Yet the protocol adapted. Memories protected by neural encryption, truths encoded in living minds. The more the Erased fought, the stronger the protocol grew. On a distant moon, Lyra, the Silashari girl who first confessed, stood with a crowd. They were chanting not war cries, but promises. Promises to remember, to rebuild, to never betray again. Across the galaxy, the tide was turning. The weight of remembering was heavy, but necessary. In a final broadcast, Loreen addressed the galaxy. "We carry the burden of all who came before. We hold the memory of those forgotten. Only by facing our past can we shape a future worth living. This is the price of peace." Above every capital, the black ships shone softly, no longer ominous, not threatening, but watchful. Guardians of memory, sentinels of truth. And on Earth, beneath the judgment core, the children watched, waiting, not for war, but for the day when the galaxy would finally say, "We remember." After decades of silent reckoning, the galaxy embraces the truth of its betrayal and chooses a fragile unity. Humanity's judgment protocol fades, replaced by a collective vow to remember honestly, rebuilding trust from ruins. The black ships return to the shadows, and a new era begins, uncertain, hopeful, and forever marked by the cost of forgetting. The sky was no longer black. It was pale dawn. Above every capital world, the black ships receded, no longer sentinels of judgment, but guardians of promise. The galaxy had changed, not through fire or conquest, but through memory, through facing pain, through embracing truth. High Chancellor Vrexel's name was spoken no longer in fear, but in sorrow. Loreen's vision had come true. The Council stood broken, but ready to rebuild. On Earth, beneath the judgment core, the children watched the horizon, no longer vessels of reckoning, but beacons of hope. The final transmission came, not from a warship, but from every child on Earth. Voices rising in unison, we remember, we forgive, we rebuild. Across the stars, worlds answered back. Confessions, apologies, vows. The galaxy's wounds began to heal, new alliances formed, old grudges softened. The judgment protocol was deactivated, but memory remained, a shared legacy etched in every star. And humanity, it did not conquer, it did not command. It watched, silent, patient, waiting, not for vengeance, not for war, but for peace. Because the greatest power humanity ever wielded was not in its ships, not in its weapons, but in its unyielding memory. They chose to betray humanity. The sky turned black with ships, but humanity made the silence speak, and from silence a new dawn rose. The end.